China has decided to impose a 15% tariff on imports of coal and liquefied natural gas, LNG, from the United States in direct response to Washington's recent move to levy a 10% tariff on Chinese goods. In a statement released by China's Ministry of Finance on Tuesday, it was also announced that an additional 10% tariff would be applied to various American imports, including crude oil, agricultural machinery, large displacement vehicles, and pickup trucks. The ministry justified these measures as a reaction to what it described as the United States' unilateral decision to increase tariffs on Chinese products. It criticized Washington's actions, arguing that they constituted a severe breach of World Trade Organization (WTO) rules. Furthermore, the statement emphasized that such tariff hikes would not contribute to solving any of America's internal economic problems but would rather disrupt the normal trade and economic cooperation between China and the United States. China's newly imposed tariffs are scheduled to take effect on February 10. The announcement of these measures closely followed a statement from then U.S. President Donald Trump, who revealed that he was planning to hold a phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping within the following 24 hours. Trump's administration had recently introduced a broader set of trade measures against multiple trade partners, including Canada and Mexico. As part of these actions, products imported from China were subjected to an additional 10% tariff on top of the pre-existing duties. Trump justified these trade restrictions by asserting that they were aimed at punishing countries that had allegedly failed to take sufficient action to curb the movement of undocumented migrants and illicit drugs, including fentanyl, into the United States. However, in a shift of stance, the U.S. government decided to put a temporary halt to the proposed tariffs on Mexico and Canada, instead opting for a 30-day suspension. This pause was contingent upon these neighboring countries agreeing to implement enhanced border security and crime enforcement measures, which were key concerns of the Trump administration. The countermeasures announced by Beijing appear to be carefully calibrated rather than an outright escalation of tensions. According to Julian Chase, a professor specializing in international economic law at City University of Hong Kong, China's move signals its readiness to impose economic consequences on the United States while simultaneously maintaining flexibility in negotiations. A notable aspect of China's decision is the timing of the new tariffs, which are set to take effect on February 10. This date seems to have been chosen strategically, allowing a window for possible negotiations between Trump and Xi before the tariffs are enforced. By setting the implementation date a few weeks ahead, China is creating an opportunity for last-minute diplomatic discussions that could potentially lead to exemptions, adjustments, or reciprocal gestures that might help de-escalate the situation. The impact of these measures will largely depend on how Washington interprets them. If the United States views China's actions as a calculated move that leaves room for dialogue, it could pave the way for negotiations rather than further trade hostilities. On the other hand, if the Trump administration perceives this as a direct challenge to its trade policies, it may respond with additional tariffs or other trade restrictions, thereby intensifying the already strained relationship between the two economic giants. This latest trade dispute recalls the earlier trade war that unfolded during Trump's first term in office, which lasted from 2018 to 2020. The conflict was triggered when Trump's administration initiated sweeping tariffs on Chinese imports, citing concerns over the large U.S. trade deficit with China. This led to retaliatory tariffs from Beijing, resulting in a prolonged and damaging trade war that had significant repercussions on global supply chains and the world economy. As part of an effort to end the trade war, China had agreed in 2020 to increase its purchase of American goods by an additional $200 billion annually. However, the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted these plans, and China's trade deficit with the U.S. continued to grow, reaching $361 billion according to the latest customs data released last month. In addition to trade tensions, Trump has also been vocal about his dissatisfaction with China over the issue of fentanyl, a synthetic opioid responsible for a significant number of overdose deaths in the United States. He has warned that unless Beijing takes decisive action to curb the flow of fentanyl into the U.S., further tariff increases could be imposed. China, for its part, has repeatedly pushed back against these accusations, arguing that the fentanyl crisis is primarily a domestic issue for the United States to address. Moreover, Beijing has announced that it intends to challenge the latest U.S. tariffs at the WTO and explore additional countermeasures in response to Washington's actions. However, despite these retaliatory steps, China has left the door open for potential negotiations, signaling that there is still an opportunity to resolve trade disputes through diplomatic channels before tensions escalate further.